Hello, my name is Joseph Lumpkin. I am the CEO and one of the writers for Fifth Estate Publishing. And we are glad to bring you some information about some of our books. Fifth Estate can be found at www.fifthestatepub.com, or you can see us at fifth-estate.net. So if you go to www.fifthestatepub.com, you will see over 100 titles. These titles mostly are ancient text brought into modern English, and we do this as what we consider to be our purpose in life, to bring the modern reader ancient literature in an understandable form. Today I want to talk to you about the two books of Jasher. We have a brand new book out, and the Books of Jasher included in this are the two very divergent texts with the same name, purported to be the same book. We have two quotes in the scriptures that start this whole thing. Behold, it is written in the Book of Jasher, that's 2 Samuel 1:18, and is it not written in the Book of Jasher, which is Joshua 10:13. But history has supplied us with two very, very different books claiming to be the same thing. Now, the first book of Jasher, which is the J.H. Parry texts, that text is really accepted as apocryphal and of interest by the Mormon Church, by the LDS Church. It's a very, very interesting book, probably written between the 9th and 13th centuries, or at least that's the way that scholars report it. But it gives you an amazing expansion of information within the Genesis time frame. So it takes place between creation and the Promised Land, and it fills in an enormous amount of gaps. Like, for example, have we ever wondered how Noah got all of the animals into the ark? Have we ever wondered why Nimrod was such a phenomenal hunter that he was known worldwide? Well, the second chapter tells us that the skins of the animals that God had clothed Adam and Eve in had been passed down, but stolen. And let me quote this. The garments of skin which God made Adam and his wife when they went out of the garden was given to Cush. And after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And then Enoch took them and gave them to Methuselah. And Methuselah took them and gave them to Noah. But when Ham went out, he stole those garments, and they ended up in the hands of Nimrod. So what the Bible is telling us is that those divine garments controlled the animals. They were given properties that the wearer could command the animal kingdom to do his will. So they were given to Adam and Eve to protect them from the wild beast. And Noah used them to summon in all of the animals in the ark. And then Nimrod used them to hunt and have dominion over the animals of the earth. That's just one of the things, one of the many, many things that this book says. Here's another quote. For in those days the sons of men began to trespass against God and go contrary to the commandments given to Adam to be prolific and to reproduce in the earth. And some of those men caused their wives to drink a mixture that would render them unable to conceive, in order that they might retain their figures and their beautiful appearance would not fade. And when the sons of men caused their wives to drink this, Zillah drank it. And it goes on to tell that story. And it also tells us that if those women did get pregnant, the men would put them aside and go live with their lovers who were not pregnant and who did not have children. You know, sometimes things just don't change very much, do they? So this was ancient child birth control. Chapter 4. It's a very interesting thing. It starts out by saying that men began to get more and more evil after the days of Noah, and every man took to himself and made himself a god for his household, and the daughters and husband and wives were forced to have sex with strangers. And then it says a very, very interesting thing. It says that the angels, which the text has been talking about for a while, has taught us all of these amazing things. But one of the things it taught, or they taught us, was to mix animals, to mix species, to gene splice, if you will. And this answers the question in the minds, I believe, of these writers as to harpies and centaurs and minotaurs and the like, where animals were combined with animals. For example, I believe a harpy has parts of a bird and parts of a lion. And it answers those questions from the ancient myths and puts them in a biblical context in the Book of Jasher. Now, the Book of Pseudo-Jasher, which is the Alcuinus text, was published around 1751. It's a very interesting book. Most people consider it to be completely a forgery. This publisher named Ives conceived this idea, they said, and he wrote this book containing around 30 some odd chapters. And this book, if you are a conspiracy theorist in religion, you'll read this book and go, oh my God, this is the way it really was. For example, Ives wrote, and we're considering that it probably was him because he said that it was written by Alcuinus, who was the abbot of Canterbury at the time, and he supposedly found it in the 7th century, and he translated it into English. But see, there's a problem there because English in the 7th century wasn't English. If you try to read it, you're reading a semi-Germanic language that is very difficult to understand. And so the forger didn't understand the evolution of the English language, and when he claimed to have found this thing, and it was written in English in the 800s, immediately the scholars went, well, that's not right. See, we have just these few small poems from that era of time, and you can't read it unless you know the language. So they actually put him in prison for 3 years for trying to forge this book. But one of the things about this book is it says that when Moses went up to the mountain to get the 10 Commandments, God didn't give it to him. Jethro, his Midianite father-in-law, had given him a list of laws that were somewhat similar to the Code of Hammurabi, and those, with his 70 elders that went up with him, were written down, and a conspiracy theory was formed. And they said, let us tell these people that we ate with God and he gave us these laws. But 2 of those people rebelled and said, we can't do that. That's a lie to the people. So Moses had them killed. And as this book goes on, it tells that Moses was a despot. He was a tyrant. And every time someone said, well, we don't think that this law came from God, we think it came from you and your father-in-law, he would have them killed. And he formed this campaign to take over the area and expand it for their political gain. And every time he would come into a village, he would kill everybody except the virgins, and he would take the gold and the booty, and excuse the pun, and the virgins, and he would divide it into the tribes, and they were all happy about it. But the Alcuinus text is a very interesting text because it lays the foundation of being, let's call it, curious and skeptical of those things that went on in the times of Moses. So again, the Book of Jasher, the Books of Jasher, published by Fifth Estate, the J.H. Parry text and the Alcuinus text in one volume,